Number 1, Louis Monaco. Louis Monaco came into this fight looking like he had just won a regional bodybuilding trophy and decided the boxing ring was the next logical step. He posed, he pointed, he walked the canvas like it was a runway. Butterbean watched all of this from across the ring with the patience of a man who had seen this exact movie before and already knew the ending. By the time Monaco's showmanship ran out, Butterbean's right hand had a very simple answer. One shot. Monaco went horizontal. The crowd counted. The referee counted. Monaco stared at the lights and wondered where his confidence had gone. Number 2, Ken Woods. Ken Woods walked into the ring like a man who had done his homework but misread the subject. He came in hard in the first round, mixing it up, catching Butterbean with a few shots, and briefly convincing himself that he was in a fight he could actually win. Round 2 had a different lesson plan. Butterbean loaded up a right hand that traveled approximately 6 inches and rearranged the next 4 seconds of Ken Woods' life. He went down in a slow, heavy fold. The kind of fall that makes the whole room go quiet for a second before it erupts. Number 3, Peter McNeely. Peter McNeely came in swinging like a man who had been storing punches in a basement for 6 months and finally had somewhere to spend them. He charged forward, throwing everything, clearly believing that volume alone would carry the night. Butterbean let him spend the energy. Then he started spending his own. The punches came in clusters, fast and heavy, until the referee stepped in to end the transaction. McNeely stayed upright, but looked like a man who had just walked through a car wash with the windows down. Number 4, Sean Yegan. Sean Yegan's most confident moment in this fight was the walk to the ring. Everything after that was a gradual education in consequences. He started well enough, moving and throwing, but every time he stood still for a half second too long, Butterbean found him. The right hand came over the top of a jab. Clean. Final. Jurgen's head snapped back. His legs filed a complaint, and the canvas caught him before his brain fully registered what had happened. His head hit hard. The fight was over before the echo finished. Number 5, Marcus Rode. Marcus Rode was not a bad fighter. He had knockouts on his record and a body that looked like it belonged in the fight. What he did not have was the sense to stop walking forward once Butterbean decided to stop waiting. The first 2 rounds looked almost reasonable. Then round 3 arrived and Butterbean flipped a switch that Rode clearly did not know existed. Body shots first, then the head. Rode crumbled to the canvas like a building that had quietly been losing its structural integrity for minutes before finally giving up all at once. Number 6, Jackie Beard. Jackie Beard found Butterbean funny. He pointed. He laughed. He bounced around mid-round like the whole thing was a performance for his benefit. A man performing comedy in front of someone who charged admission in punches. One right hand ended the comedy special. Beard hit the floor stiff, arms at his sides completely still. The kind of fall that is not about not getting up. It is about not being asked a question for several seconds. Number 7, Kevin Talon. Kevin Talon stuck his tongue out at Butterbean, not metaphorically. Literally extended his tongue at a man who had knocked out most of the people he had ever stood across from. This decision would not age well. He survived 2 rounds by refusing to stop moving, absorbing damage like a heavy bag that had forgotten to stay anchored. Round 3 was where the invoice arrived. Talon folded to the canvas, the tongue safely stored, the lesson permanently recorded. Number 8, Tim Bergen. Butterbean occasionally took his operation international, which meant Tim Bergen became an international cautionary tale. He started the fight like a man who had been told the stories, but decided they were probably exaggerated. They were not exaggerated. A final heavy barrage brought the referee in like emergency services arriving at an incident already in progress. Bergen was saved from further education by a man with a whistle and better timing than he had. Number 9, E.D. White. Ed White arrived built like a promotional poster for whatever protein powder had sponsored his gym. He was genuinely impressive to look at. He had the confidence of someone who had spent considerable time being impressive to look at and decided that would be enough. He caught Butterbean with something in the early going that briefly made this look like a competition. Then Butterbean's system rebooted. What followed was less a comeback than a reckoning. White got introduced to the part of this equation he had not trained for. Number 10, Paul Springer. Paul Springer was making his professional debut, which meant he had a lot of enthusiasm and not yet enough information. He came in muscled, confident, and burning energy, like it was a renewable resource. He even tried to muscle Butterbean on the inside, as if upper body strength was the variable that had been missing from everyone else's game plan. Butterbean waited for Springer to finish his experiment and then submitted his rebuttal, one right hand on the chin. Springer lifted off the canvas for a brief moment before gravity filed its paperwork and the referee stepped in. Professional debut over. Number 11, James Thompson. James Thompson decided that psychological warfare was the move here. He walked up to Butterbean before the fight and delivered what he clearly considered a devastating piece of pre-fight intimidation. He told Butterbean to close his eyes, think of something comfortable, and that it would all be over quickly. He was technically correct. It was over quickly. One punch. Thompson went horizontal before the crowd could finish processing what had just happened. The fight became one of boxing's more efficient arguments for keeping your mouth shut before the bell. Number 12, Doug Norris. Doug Norris came in with a plan. Move, stay on the outside, use the jab, circle away. It was textbook strategy for fighting someone like Butterbean, and it functioned adequately for most of the first round. But Butterbean does not play chess. He removes the board. Every time Norris circled, Butterbean shortened the route. By round 2, the footwork was failing, the shots were landing, and Norris was moving like a device that had lost its connection. He went face first into the canvas in the kind of fall that sounds different from everything else. Number 13, Jonathan Whitfield. Jonathan Whitfield came in lean and shredded, using his height and reach to jab and move, and even mixing in some mid-fight trash talk because apparently no one in his camp had pulled him aside to explain what that historically accomplishes against Butterbean. The trash talk rang Butterbean's dinner bell. A heavy combination found Whitfield and sent him backward through the ropes in a tangle of limbs and regret. He was helped up. The fight was over. The height had not been a superpower. It had been extra surface area. Number 14, George Clark. George Clark walked in quiet and composed, which almost made this feel like it would be different. It was not different. Butterbean opened up to the body. Clark tried to fight back, and then went down for the first time. He got up, and then he went through the ropes. One moment he was in the ring, vertical and attempting to compete. The next he was exiting through the ropes sideways like they were an emergency exit he had suddenly remembered existed. His eyes told the full story on the way down. Number 15, Patrick Graham. Patrick Graham came in with the confidence of a man who had convinced himself that what happened to the others would not happen to him specifically. He had reasons. He had probably rehearsed them. Then the heavy shots started landing, and the reasons got harder to remember. Butterbean swung again. Graham did not lose the fight so much as he lost his zip code. He went through the ropes and landed outside the ring while the crowd tried to process what they had just witnessed. The referee had seen enough. Number 16, Kenny Craven. Kenny Craven had a theory. If he kept moving, kept his distance, and refused to get trapped, he could outmaneuver the math. He spent a good portion of the early fight running that experiment with partial success. Once Butterbean cornered him, the theory expired immediately. The punches came in waves, arms windmilling through whatever guard Craven had assembled. Craven absorbed the storm, froze against the ropes, and became part of the scenery until the referee intervened before the situation escalated further. Number 17, James Baker. James Baker came in with a record that should have been a warning label. 1 win, 5 losses, 4 first-round knockdowns in his last 4 fights. This is information that was publicly available. He stepped into the ring anyway. The 5th first-round knockdown arrived on schedule. Butterbean landed, Baker fell, and the referee confirmed what the record had already tried to communicate. The dream of a different outcome expired early, as Baker's dreams tended to do. Number 18, George Lindberger. George Lindberger did not even give the crowd time to get comfortable. The bell rang. Butterbean threw a jab. Then a right hand came, flush on the jaw, and Lindberger was on the canvas before most people had processed that the fight had technically started. The commentators spent more time discussing the punch than the fight lasted. It was, by any reasonable measure, one of the most efficient evenings in the Butterbean filmography. Some records exist to be admired from a safe distance. Number 19, Rodney Phillips. Rodney Phillips had a look on his face during the stare down that suggested he had confused Butterbean with a problem he already knew how to solve. The bell rang. 5 seconds later, the look was gone, and so was most of his structural stability. He did not know where he was. The referee knew. The crowd knew. Phillips was the last one to receive the information, and by then the fight was already in past tense. Another chin aimed upward, another evening concluded. Number 20, Pat Jackson. Pat Jackson believed height was the variable that would change the calculation. He used it during the face-off, literally reaching over Butterbean like the elevation advantage would matter once the punches started arriving. The punches started arriving. The height did not change the math. Butterbean walked through the jabs, unloaded a combination that turned the second round into a demolition sequence, and Jackson had seen enough. The referee caught a stray shot in the process of breaking it up, which in retrospect was the only surprising thing about the evening.